In New York, the Sanford family decides to go on vacation, so they rent a house on Long Island next to a forest. The house is beautiful, but the alcohol cabinet is locked. While the family settles down, the mother Amanda drives to town to buy groceries, and she can't help noticing Danny loading his truck with a great amount of supplies. Later, the family goes to the beach, and the daughter Rose notices a huge oil tanker ship sailing in the distance. At first, they think nothing of it, but soon they realize the ship is approaching the beach. People start to panic and run away as the ship crashes against the sand. But thankfully nobody gets hurt, and the beach is closed for the day when the family returns home. They realize the Wi-Fi is not working, and there is no service on their phones or television. Amanda and her husband Clay are also surprised to see some deer in the backyard, which they see as a good omen in the evening. Amanda hears a noise outside, and suddenly someone knocks on their door. Clay gets ready to fight a potential intruder, but two people shock them by knowing their names. It turns out this is businessman George and his daughter Ruth, who are the actual owners of the house. It was Georgia whom Amanda talked to through email to arrange the rent. He apologizes for turning up unannounced, but all phones are out. They went to the symphony in town, and on their way back to the city, there was a total power blackout since they live on the 14th floor, and George has a bad knee. They thought they could stay in this house for tonight. Amanda hates the idea and doesn't trust them, so George tries to offer her a 50% refund and promises he and Ruth can sleep in the guest room in the basement to prove his identity. He reveals he has the keys to the cabinet and opens it to take out an envelope, not letting the others see. There is also a gun in there. The envelope has $1,000 that he offers as compensation. But Amanda is still wary, thinking he could have the keys because he is the housekeeper. Clay has to convince Amanda to give the duo a chance. George shares the alcohol from the cabinet and tells them the story of this house, explaining Denis was his contractor. He also explains his wife is always traveling for his job. Amanda interrupts him to demand an ID, but George left his wallet in his other coat, which he forgot at the theater because of the commotion. This puts Amanda on the edge, because George had said he didn't know about the blackout until later. Suddenly they hear an alarm ringing. Ruth has turned on the television, and they discover that a national emergency has been issued. Now Amanda has no choice but to let the duo stay in the house. When George and Ruth go to the basement room, it is revealed. George knows something because a client warned him the next morning. Amanda wakes up to see 4 emergency messages on her phone. 2. Talk about the blackout. 1 mentions hackers possibly being behind it, and the last one is just random symbols. Worried, she wakes Clay up to show him the messages, but they disappear before he can see them. Clay decides to drive to town to get a newspaper for more information. However, since the GPS is not working either, he soon gets lost. He stops the car and gets out to check if he can catch a signal on his phone. So he doesn't hear the car radio. Activating for just a few seconds, the reporter informs that the cyber attack has caused a serious environmental disaster in the south, which has impacted animal migration patterns, with no luck with the phone. Clay decides to keep on driving, and moments later he finds a woman waving her arms by the road. It seems she needs help, so Clay stops the car, but the woman can only speak Spanish and he doesn't understand her feeling. Disturbed by her pleas, Clay decides to ignore her and keep going. Suddenly he sees a drone flying nearby with red smoke on its tail, so he speeds up. But when the drone comes closer, Clay realizes the smoke is actually red leaflets. Meanwhile, George also drives out to visit the neighbors, keeping his gun at hand. He keeps checking his phone because he hasn't heard from his wife since yesterday, and she was supposed to fly back today. Sadly, not a single message has been delivered. The neighbor's house seems to be empty, and strangely there are tons of random things spread in the garden. The door was left open, so he goes inside and finds a complete mess. George tries using the neighbor's satellite phone, but it is not working either, which means all American satellites are down. When he's about to leave, he notices there are more things spread near the beach, so he follows the trail and finds an expensive watch in the sand. When he tries to pick it up, he is shocked to find a whole arm and falls, only to discover the body of a pilot. As he looks around, he realizes a plane is crashed on the beach at that moment.